What is the role of a Scrum Master in a safe environment? And how can you understand safe in full scale agile framework in less than 5 minutes? This is a question a lot of people often get confused when they're being asked. What is your role as a Scrum Master in a safe environment? We are going to give you a very short formula on how you can be able to respond to this question. Not only respond to the question, but how you can understand how to narrate the role of a Scrum Master in a safe environment, but specifically what makes the difference between Scrum and safe. We're going to cover that in this video in less than no time. Hello, welcome to the Scrum Chat Room with Dr. Francis Mbunya. Happy Wednesday. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. And this Friday, we are going to implement a safe training certification program. If you want to join, click the link below or simply send me a text and you will be right in that class. For anyone who is not yet Safe Scrum Master certified, you're missing a lot. You definitely want to be Safe Scrum Master certified so that you can broaden your horizon, so that you can get to understand Scrum in full. Now, I want to start by giving you the difference between Safe and Scrum. And sometimes a lot of people feel like, oh, Safe is a higher version of Scrum, so I need to start with maybe CSM and PSM first, then I do Safe. That is not true. Now, what is Safe? Safe simply means K Agile Framework, and sometimes it is also called Scrum at Scale, right? So, and Safe contain two circles. In Scrum, we have a sprint, which is a circle, right? In Safe, we have an iteration, which is equivalent to a sprint. And then we have now the at event, which is the bigger part, which is what separates Scrum from Safe. But I'm going to break it down. A Scrum Master in a normal Scrum environment facilitates Scrum event from the sprint planning to daily stand-up to backlog refinement to retrospective and to sprint review to ensure that the project is delivered iteratively to the client. In a safe environment, a Scrum Master participates in program planning, and program planning creates now an opportunity for the Scrum Master to now implement the normal sprint planning. But in a safe environment, it's not called sprint planning, it's called iteration planning, but it's equivalent to sprint planning. So remember, in a Scrum environment, a Scrum Master is not engaged in the collection of requirements or maybe the breaking down of futures into the backlog where the team start working on. Now, the Scrum Master start working from the product backlog. In a safe environment, a Scrum Master participates in program planning increment, which is a scenario which is an event where futures are being broken down into stories and loaded in the backlog. So the Scrum Master is part of the team that load the story into the backlog. That's the first key difference between Scrum and Safe. And now when the story are loaded into the backlog, what happened? You continue the normal process that is being done in a Scrum environment. Now, just with this example or just with this explanation, you can say that there is no major difference between Scrum and Safe, apart from the fact that in a safe environment, you need to learn how to assist at the level of the program to be able to break down the futures into the backlog, and then you continue with your work as a Scrum Master. Now, this is the reason why the SAFE certification is it's an added value to your journey, because you don't only know how to assist at the team level, you also know how to interact at the program level. Now, what is the key difference, or what is your role as a Scrum Master in a safe environment? Number one, for you to understand this question very clearly, you need to understand what we call the ART event. ART stands for Agile Release Train. Now, in a safe environment, the difference is we have multiple teams working on one product. I always like to give this example. Let's say that you are into catering or you're into deco, right? And you have 3 events to provide deco or decoration in 1 week. What you can do is that you can distribute your time to ensure that all of these events have the best deco within 1 week, right? Let's take another scenario. Within 1 week, you have about 50 events to provide deco. What are you going to do? Can you alone provide that deco? No. So you are going to now form different teams that are going to represent you. But because the contract is given to you, you need now to put in place is a program that every person that is leading a team can come to that program, and you teach them how you want them to do it. You make sure that they are using specifically what will help you achieve your goal. That's simple. That's how a Scrum environment, a safe environment operates. In a Scrum environment, there's just 2 or 3 teams implementing. You don't need a special event called the program increment. Now we have 60 events. You cannot do it by yourself within the same time period. So you need now to implement a program where you can coordinate those who are going to help you do that within the same period. So when we talk about SAFe, now we talk about the Agile release train. So the Agile release train is like everyone in your team coming together to plan, because our goal is to achieve a common vision, right? A common vision. Because we're driving towards a common vision, there is a need, first of all, to come together at a higher level called PI planning to plan what we are going to implement at a team level. So the role of a Scrum Master in a safe environment: first, you participate in PI planning, program increment planning. What is your role in program increment planning? You facilitate the team, the effort of your team. There are 2 sessions. We call it breakout room 1, breakout room 2. And you're able to help them break the futures that have been assigned to them into stories. Take for instance, in an event, you are assigning the different roles. You are going to give the team exactly what you want them to implement in their various station when they're doing their deco. Now, the team themselves, they would pick out those items and put them where? In their to-do list, which is the backlog, the bucket which contain everything. And then from there, what is going to happen? They start implementing it. So in a PI planning, the futures that have been given to a team, the Scrum Master help them or facilitate to break it down into stories and they load it in their backlog. So a PI planning event, it's more of a bigger sprint or iteration planning. In this case, you're trying to plan across several weeks, up to 6 weeks, right? Now, at this point, considering that there are several teams working together, there need to be collaboration. You, the Scrum Master, you are collaborating with other Scrum Master in an event called the Scrum of Scrum during the PI planning. At the same time, you are helping your team, you are working with your developer to identify other things they will be collaborating with, we call this dependency, during the implementation of the iteration, and make sure that they agreed on what time they're going to be using to build their project and what time they are going to deliver their own part. So that collaboration is very important. Because we have several teams working together, there is that need for us to come together in a 2-day event called PI planning to plan and to align ourselves so that when we pull back to our team and we start implementing our normal Scrum work, what's going to happen? There's not going to be chaos. So the PI event help us to align to a common vision and synchronize so that we can flow in a cadence. Very simple. So you, the Scrum Master, what you need to do, know that, you're helping your team in breakout room 1, break down their stories into their backlog. And then at the end of day 1, management review it and then bring back feedback. Day 2, simply just adjust based on the recommendation for management. And then you roam your rigs. Now, rigs roaming, we're going to talk about that in a different day. Now, secondly, what you also do as a Scrum Master in a safe environment, after that, you facilitate all the events. But what is also very important, which is a part which I want also you to pay attention, is the last sprint or the last iteration in in the Agile release train or in the PI cycle. The last week in the PI cycle, it's always left empty. No work is planned there. That is the week where the next PI is planned. That week is called innovation and planning iteration. Right. In the innovation and planning iteration is where you prepare for the next spring. How do you prepare for the next spring as a Scrum Master? The first thing you want to do is that you want to make sure that your team is closing the previous PI by making sure if they need to document, they need to close out some work, they need to put stuff on conference board, all of them are putting them on. Then you also need to liaise up with your release train engineer to start thinking about the different features you're going to be working on the next PI and start working on them. But most importantly is what we call the PI system demo and the inspect and adapt workshop. The PI system demo is where the entire solution that the team, all the teams were building is demoed. But then another important event called inspect and adapt workshop, which is also called a problem solving workshop, where you also identify what were some of the problems that held us back as a team, what helped us to advance, and you're able to apply problem solving techniques in order to make sure that anything that was a hindrance, you find a solution, and then that solution is put in the program backlog as an enabler. All right, just with this, you already have an overview of what the Scrum Master does in a PI environment. Now, if I want to summarize this in less than 1 minute, my role as a Scrum Master in a PI environment is I liaise with the release train engineer and the program management to ensure that my team is assigned the features that they need to implement in the PI cycle, and I facilitate in breakout room 1 and breakout room 2 to ensure that my team is breaking down all of these features into their backlog to ensure that they are estimating work rightly according to their capacity to ensure that they are only committing to work that they can complete. I also help my team to identify all possible risks and all possible dependency that might hinder the team and make sure that all of these are addressed before the end of the PI planning. Now, when the PI planning is over, I work with my team to implement all the work that was loaded into the team backlog. And at the end of the PI cycle, I also make sure that I facilitate my team participation in the PI system demo and in the inspect and adapt workshop, where we basically look at the problems that we actually face, both on people, tools, and environment. And we're able now to brainstorm on them so that we can learn from them in the next PI cycle. As simple as that. All right, do not forget to subscribe on our channel, and do not forget, check on the resources below. If you want coaching, join our community. There's so many resources there that can help you close that gap in less than no time. I'll see you in the next video.